Hey guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today we're talking about the top 5 baits for bass fishing in the month of June. Traditionally, March, April, and May are the peak of bass fishing. But I have to say, in recent years, June has become one of my personal highlights of the whole year. It just seems like every year, come June, I'm able to catch some big ones. Some of that is because I've learned more about how to fish offshore. Some of that is because I've become more comfortable locating larger fish in shallow water as well. But June as a whole is an amazing time to catch a lot of fish, to catch fish that are grouped up, and to catch really, really big ones. So today I've got 5 categories for you, and I'm actually going to give them to you in order of my personal favorite. So the first one is my #1 thing that I like to throw in June, and then we'll go right down the line from there. To kick it off, #1 is one that might surprise a lot of people, and that is a swinging jig head. That is my favorite bait in the month of June, and a lot of people don't even use them. So the concept is a football style head that is free swinging compared to the soft plastic. So it's a wide gap hook, and then I take my favorite soft plastic that kicks, in this case, the X-Zone Adrenaline Craw. And I have a thing for June bug in the month of June. Late May, all of June, all of July, June bug is a killer color. So either June bug or dark June bug are the 2 main colors you'll see me use for this technique. Now you can catch a lot more fish on green pumpkin blue, watermelon, but the really big ones just seem to eat that June bug. Now this is not just another soft plastic. When we set it up like this, this is not a bottom crawling bait. This is a reaction bait. We're taking this, throwing it out, letting it hit the bottom, and then we're winding it like a crankbait or a spinnerbait or a chatterbait, but we're maintaining bottom contact. So as the bait comes along bottom, anytime it hits something, it'll deflect, and the bait is back there moving and kicking while that head is just hunting its way through cover. For whatever reason, giants eat it. I'm able to cover a ton of water. I'm able to get the biggest bites, and when I get them on a wide gap hook, which gives me an excellent chance at landing those fish. This is such a big topic that we'll do a dedicated video on this in the very near future. Maybe next few days, next week or 2, something like that. We'll do a dedicated video on wobble head fishing because I want you guys to understand this technique. But that is my #1 technique in June. Now #2 is topwater. I love throwing a topwater, and this is prime time to do it. There's a lot of topwaters you can throw. You can throw walking baits, straight retrieve baits, buzz baits, poppers, frogs. I mean, you name it. There's so many different things that you can throw. So it's really hard to narrow down, but I went ahead and did it. I narrowed it down to 2. It's a walking bait and a frog. And if I just had to choose one, that was my mindset. Just choose one. Choose one walking bait, choose one frog, and why? Here's the deal. Topwater can be amazing this time of year. You've still got a ton of bass that are up shallow, like dirt shallow, right up on the bank around cover. It's starting to get warmer. Those fish will pull up under docks. They'll pull up in grass, into pads, things like that. But they'll also get on outside grass edges. So you can catch them both ways. You can also catch them in lakes that have no grass. They'll just be suspended, feeding on points, chasing shad. It's just an awesome time of year to throw a topwater. For a walking bait, I went with the Megabass Giant Dog X. I have fallen in love with this bait over the last couple of years. I catch so many fish on it. I catch so many good ones on it. The key to this bait is that it's subtle. The reason this is the standout for me is that it works when other topwaters don't. So when the lake gets slick, it gets really calm, like what I have back here behind me. That is the time that that Giant Dog X will shine. Traditionally, I would throw a popper in this situation, but you have to fish a popper so slow and so methodically, you can't cover very much water. The Giant Dog X, I'm still covering tons of water. I can be on the move searching for fish, but it's still subtle and they smash it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got the Frog. Well, with the Frog, same deal. I'm trying to dial it in. Which one? And it actually was pretty easy. This is the Jackal Kiara. It is a downsized frog. You can throw this on 40 or 50 pound line. You can still throw it on 65 pound braid as well. But this little downsized frog crushes. I went with the gill color, but there's 2 or 3 really good colors for this time of year. And in the video description, we'll link all of this in the order we're talking about it. I'll link straight to the wobblehead, the actual head I use from Dirty Jigs, that craw from X-Zone, and we'll go right down the line. Topwaters, I'll give you my favorite colors for each one, and those links will take you straight to Tackle Warehouse where you can see them, so you don't have to sit and take notes like you used to. Back to the Frog, the Jackal Kiara. The reason why this frog is, one, it's a gill color, which is still a big deal this time of year. Bass are crushing bluegills, especially up around shallow cover, but it's also that downsized profile. It gets bit in more situations, and I've also found that post-spawn, bass can kind of get a little funny for a few weeks, particularly the start of June. I'll still see it where bass are sort of weird. They'll roll on that frog, but they won't eat it whole. That Kiara really helps with that because it is a smaller package. They tend to eat that thing whole, and I get an excellent hookup ratio with it. That's a great option. Number 3, it's gonna be a Paddletail swim bait. No question. I've got a couple that I like and a couple different head types that I like, but it's a Paddletail swim bait. I will always have one on the deck of my boat. I mean, you've got everything, depending on where you are in the country, you've got everything from shad spawn that could still be happening to fish running bait balls out in deep water to everything in between. But a Paddletail swim bait is just an unbelievable way to target fish. The main thing I'm looking for in a Paddletail this time of year is aggressive action. I want a lot of movement and I want a lot of vibration, and I also want to stand out from the crowd. I want something different than everybody else, and that brings me to these two. This is a Storm Largo shad. I throw the 3-inch and the 3.5 inch. This is the 3.5. I think it's the perfect balance. The Storm Largo shad, if you leave this attached, see there's an extra little piece in here. If you leave that attached, it has a very aggressive vibration coming through the water, and I feel that it imitates threadfin shad unbelievably well. The other one from X-Zone, this is the 4-inch Swammer. The Swammer, same deal, we're looking for action. The Swammer has an unbelievable body roll. It's got as much body roll as a hollow belly swim bait, like a Bastrix type bait, but it does it in a full solid body, so you have tons of durability. So unbelievable body roll and tail kick going on with that one. Again, I want a lot of movement out of my baits this time of year. As far as how I rig them, sometimes it's on an underspin, sometimes it's on the bare head. This is our head. This is the Dirty Jigs TacticalBassin screwed up swim bait head. Screwed up because we built an oversized screw lock. This is not a standard thing that you can get on every swim bait head. We built one, we went out of industry and found a material to build a larger screw that will hold baits. I will literally rip this swim bait in half before it comes off of that screw. So it just makes your baits last longer. And then over here, this is also ours. This is our TacticalBassin underspin, but specifically 3/8 ounce with the 2-aught. It's a little tiny hook. Look at the hook difference. Little tiny hook, but it's a heavy wire hook. And I can get a lot more bites because as the water is clearing, I'm able to go to lighter line, but I can still set that 2/0 no problem. And it looks great in that 4-inch bait. All right, so number 1 was a wobblehead, working that creature bait on the bottom. Number 2, topwater. Number 3, a small swim bait. Number 4 is a crankbait. Be that shallow cranking or deep cranking. I love both this time of year. Sometimes it comes down to the lake, and sometimes it comes down to the day. Sometimes I'm up dirt shallow. So just because bass are shallow doesn't mean they're in cover. Not every lake has tons of cover. A lot of shallow fish will pull to rocky points, but they'll still stay shallow. I love to throw a square bill on rock as we head towards summer. It can work unbelievably well. You want a bold color or a chrome color. You want that flash. Flash is important. From Spro, this is the Speed Demon. And that is my single favorite square bill for this time of year because it's all about burning up that water, just covering water, going fast, the occasional pause, but mostly just burning. The Speed Demon does a great job. It's a tight action, it's a fast action, it's got a good sound to it, and I catch a lot of fish on it this time of year. It's also a slightly downsized profile. Stock hooks are excellent. I don't have to waste money on extra hooks, which I have to do with most baits, and I'm able to go to lighter line. I can throw it on 10 to 12 pound fluoro, no problem, and just burn up that bank. Again, I'm looking for rock or hard bottom, ideally. At the other end of the spectrum, going out deep. It's literally the same game. A lot of fish will move offshore this time of year. You'll find them bunched up on hard bottom, rock piles, ends of points. Anywhere that you can find that hard bottom is where those fish will collect, and I try to reach them with a deep diving crankbait. I'm throwing one of two colors. I'm throwing a shad type color, a bold color, or I'm throwing chartreuse and blue. Those are my two. I keep it that simple. This is the Strike King 6XD, one of the main baits that I like to crank with as we head towards summer, and have done so for a very long time. This, again, is our bait, Tactical DD75. We designed this with River to Sea. We designed this as a cold water crankbait. We had no intention for it to be a summertime bait. We were shocked when it worked really well for summertime bass as well. So when we came out with a whole second round of colors, we included a lot of summertime type colors so that would help guys tune it in. You know, chartreuse blue, summer minnow, things like that. Metallic shad, colors that will help you target those warmer water fish, because that bait has proven to be way more effective in the summertime than we had anticipated. But either way, number 4 is either a shallow crank or a deep crank, but cranking is an amazing option this time of year. And then number 5, we're finally slowing down. We're finally making bottom contact. It's going to be a soft plastic. I'm going to talk about one, but there's a caveat. If you are on a very finesse fishery, you know, a place with a lot of clear water where you do a lot of drop shot and Ned rig and things like that, I've got a bonus bait for you. But the main bait, number 5, is going to be a straight-tailed worm. Specifically, I'm fishing those on shaky heads, okay? Now, in the past, that's been one worm, no question. It is the net bait T-Mac. June bug, or a color with June bug in it, like Bama bug. June bug is king this time of year. It catches big ones. It just does. I like to pair that up with a larger shaky head. This is the Dirty Jig stand-up finesse head, and it's got a larger hook in it. Standard round bend hook, which is what I like in a shaky head. But this T-Mac and that head are an amazing pairing if I think I'm around big ones. Let me put this in here. There we go. That is perfectly rigged up. You can see that that hook doesn't take much of that worm. There's still a lot of worm left. That T-Mac is just a special bait. We discovered it while comparing baits in underwater footage. It looks a lot like a lot of other worms, but its movement underwater is way more impressive than you would ever imagine. Now, the other one that I've been throwing, I've been spending more and more time focusing on smaller profiles as well. So from X-Zone, this is the deception worm. Now this is the dark June bug. Here, that was the standard June bug in the adrenaline craw. That's the dark June bug in that deception worm. But this is a smaller profile, 6.5 inch worm. And for that, I'm going to a smaller head. So this is a Missile Baits Warlock head, way smaller. Let me rig it and I'll show you the difference. The key here is the shaky head, right? Fishing a straight-tailed worm on a shaky head is just deadly this time of year. It just is, it catches them. But I've discovered that I can fine-tune that even further. So on the days where the fish are really aggressive, there's the deception worm, here comes the T-Mac. Look at the hook difference. Oop. See if I can hold these in a way where you can see the difference between them. Huge difference in hook. On the days where fish are more aggressive, I'm getting more bites. I focus in on that larger worm, on that larger hook, and I throw this on a casting rod. I can throw it on 12-pound line, no problem. I can hammer those hook sets. If I think I'm gonna catch big ones, that's what I'm throwing. But on the days where the bite toughens up, they're just not reacting the way I expect. I'm either not getting as many bites as I thought I would get, or I'm catching smaller fish. Then I switch over, I go to that smaller worm, I go to that Warlock head. That smaller hook is allowing me to go to lighter line. I can go to 8 to 10-pound line, and I can throw it on casting or on a spinning rod. And I'm able to be much more finesse-y to catch those fish. So it's a 1-2 punch. Very, very similar, but one on lighter line, one on heavier line, and I'm able to adapt and get more bites. Now, one last thing for the guy who's just on a finessier fishery, there's no way around it, and there are a lot of those. Instead of a shaky head, I recommend substituting in a tube. Big Bite Baits tour tube. This is green pumpkin blue, one of my favorite colors. But switching to a tube on an exposed head, like a 60 degree type head, I catch a ton of early summer fish that way. When I was guiding really hard, if things just, some days it's just, for whatever reason, it's not happening. Maybe a client didn't quite have the feel for a technique, or maybe the weather got weird and the fish got funky. Whatever caused it, I knew that I could go to a tube, green pumpkin blue, and I could get bites when I couldn't get them on anything else. That tube should never be left behind. You should always have it in the boat as just a backup plan. In fact, we'll do another dedicated tube video for you as well at some point in the near future, because it's such a huge category and it is so overlooked. But guys, that's it. June in a nutshell. The month will change a lot. At the beginning of the month, you're still in a lot of lakes, you're looking at post-spawn fish that are kind of funky, that are sort of headed towards summer patterns. By the end, you're full-blown summer patterns happening. But these are the baits that we rely on to carry us through that time. And not only to carry us through, but to help us capitalize and catch giants. This is a big fish month that a lot of people overlook, and you can catch them. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.